Good morning, everybody. Kit and I hope you're having an amazing and fascinating day. We certainly are, aren't we, little boy? Yes, we are. Welcome back to if you've been here before. Thank you for subscribing. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing if you like what you're seeing. As always, hit the notification bell, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, all the stuff that we're always asking you to do. And if you're wondering why we're always asking you to do it, because what most of us have found out is if we don't ask, you don't do it. So thank you for those that do participate. We really appreciate it. I especially appreciate you. So today I want to talk about how I camp. And for those of you who are here on a regular basis, you might notice you're getting a slightly different view from what you usually get. I realized this morning I have multiple chairs that I can sit in. So I'm actually sitting on the passenger side today. Normally I sit on the driver's side on the sofa with the big picture window behind me. These are the curtains that are drawn across the cab to keep the heat out and block way too much sunlight. And you'll see what I mean by way too much sunlight. Over here to my left is my door, and it's way too much sunlight right now. So hopefully the lighting's okay. We're going to do the best we can. What I want to talk with you guys today is, again, some more updates about what's going on with getting the house sold. And I want to talk about how I camp because I realize how I camp is how many people have not ever thought about camping. So I want to share some more about that with you, in the hopes that it will help you get some thoughts of your own about how you want to camp. So let's roll the intro and get right into it. All right, let's start with getting rid of the house updates. So first of all, my brother's house is in escrow. Why is my brother's house in escrow? My brother decided he wanted to buy my house. So we haven't opened escrow on my house yet because if I can't trust my brother to follow through, I can't trust anybody to do anything. So I'm not terribly concerned about getting escrow open on that one until we know that his escrow is completely secure. We've got a great couple buying it, working with a great agent on the other side. They do have a house to sell, and their agent is hoping the open houses he's doing this weekend will result in having their house in escrow within the next couple of days. And it's a little bit odd because I'm representing my brother in the sale of his house and I'm representing both of us in the purchase and sale of my house, which is all great. So hopefully in the next week or so, I'll be able to say a little bit more about that in a little bit more detail with some timelines lined out and so forth. But that's basically what's going on right now. So as far as my house is concerned, there is nothing left in my house. And I'm really looking forward to being able to say the house doesn't belong to me anymore. That'll be awesome. I'm not liking this lighting. I think I'm going to flip back around the other way. My apologies. It's going to be what it's going to be. Part of the problem today is that the sun is almost overhead and the light's coming in through my fantastic fan and creating this weird glare. Let's talk about how I camp. I really prefer boondocking, and I never thought that was going to be true for me when I first started RVing with my truck and trailer. But part of the reason that I made the switch to a motorhome a couple of years ago was that I wanted to be able to try boondocking on public land by myself and not be concerned about what would happen if something went wrong outside and I felt like I needed to drive away. And oh, by the way, I've never been in that situation. Yay. However, what I did discover after my very first night of boondocking by myself on public land was that this was, for me, 1,000% better than paying a fee to be in a campground or an RV park or an RV resort where I'm nestled up against other people cheek by jowl. I prefer having more space available and, having more nature to be able to look at. So I kind of split my time between different things. This year, I'm spending my spring and summer in New Mexico state parks for the first time. Um, Not the first time I've ever been in a New Mexico state park, but I'm planning to spend the entire spring and summer here. And I'm doing it with a park pass. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I've done several other state park passes as well. I've done the Nevada State Park Pass for residents because that's where I'm tagged and titled, and that's an awesome deal. I think it's just the seniors that get the $30, over 62, $30 for a year for New Mexico state parks. And again, it's free camping, but if you want water and electric and sometimes sewer, it's $10. Okay, I'm cool with that. I also have a senior disabled pass from California state parks. And the deal there is if you can qualify, you pay, actually, it's not even senior, I think it's just disabled. You pay $3.50 for them to mail the card to you, and it's a lifetime pass. So that's very cool. The other thing that's interesting about that is when you dig deep on the California website, I discovered that a Medicare card is an acceptable form of proof of disability. So apparently, if you're over 65, you're disabled, according to California. So that's how I got that one. State park passes in general can be a really good deal, especially in your home state. But oftentimes a senior discount, all kinds of things. And of course, then there's one of my all-time favorites, which is the America the Beautiful Pass. That's for people of any age. You can also get the Access Pass, which is what I have. You can get a military pass, you can get a senior pass, either annual or lifetime. My advice is if you can get a lifetime pass in any form, get it. Because once you've got it, you never have to get it again. And yes, I do. I actually do qualify for the disabled pass for the access pass for national parks. I've had it for a couple of decades, actually, since probably since the mid late 90s. That's more than a couple of decades. Anyway, part of what I love about that pass, and I didn't realize this until I started full timing, it also gives you 50% off in Army Corps of Engineers parks, which are awesome and usually on water, which I really love, and in BLM campgrounds as well, not dispersed camping because you don't pay for that anyway, but in BLM campgrounds where there might be a $4 charge or an $8 charge or whatever, you get 50% off. So, U.S. Forest Service campgrounds, same thing. Any place where there would be a charge for camping on federal land, it's 50% off if you have the pass. So it's pretty cool. Let's talk about New Mexico state parks, and I'm going to show you some clips of some of the state parks that I've been to, and I'm going to talk about each of the parks a little bit in the order of their appearance from south to north. Um, and I'm only going to cover about 5 of them individually, because otherwise this will be a super long video, and it probably will be anyway, because that's how I ramble. So, first of all, I didn't know about the New Mexico State Park Pass until I first heard about it from my friend Deborah Dickinson. I'm a member of her Coco Fam, and she has done her Coco Fam meetup for a number of years now at City of Rock State Park in New Mexico, down near Deming, and that was the first one that I ever visited. So I'll show you some shots from that, just so you can see how beautiful it is. Very, very interesting. The cell signal is better now than it used to be the first time I went there. It's still a little bit sketchy in a lot of areas, so be aware. And so it's a great park. And thank you, Deborah, for introducing it to me. Another friend, a great friend of Deborah's, is Jana Frugal RV Gal, and the two of them have been doing New Mexico state parks for a couple of years now over the spring and summer time. And then another friend of mine, Rob, travels with Dottie, and I'm going to link all of those channels down below. Please go check them out. Give them a little bit of love. If you haven't subscribed to them and you're subscribed to me, check them out, see what you think. But all three of them have been doing New Mexico state parks, and this is my first time to try doing that over the course of this summer. And so far, so good. Got in here a little bit early in the season, so hung around down in the south quite a bit because I don't like to be cold. I have a tendency to focus on parks that are closer to water. I really like being around water, whether it's a lake or a river or a creek or a puddle, whatever. I like water. It just makes me feel good. So let's talk about the parks that I have visited in the past year, starting from the south to the north. And this is not necessarily spring and summer, because I visited some of these last fall. Pancho Villa State Park. This one was cool. And I can't remember if I think I have done the video on that already, so I'll link that here, maybe here, wherever it goes. I'll put a link into that because it was really very cool. Only spent one night there the first time. The park itself, the camping area itself, is not gorgeous. It's desert. It's low desert. It's very close to the Mexico border, but especially for one night, 2 days basically, found a lot of really cool things to do around there. We visited the Frontera Sculpture Garden. That was fun. We went to Puerto Palomas in Mexico for the afternoon, and had cocktails and food and shopped and walked back across the border. Felt perfectly safe. It was a lot of fun. Another cheap afternoon in Mexico. What can beat that? Spent the night at the campground and visited the Pancho Villa State Park Visitor Center Pancho Villa Museum display the next morning, which was very, very fascinating. So you might want to consider watching the video. The museum display was just really awesome. Had a really good time with that. Um, so that's the southernmost New Mexico State Park. And then moving north, the next one up would be Rockhound. I like Rockhound a lot. It's one of the only places I've ever visited where you can actually rockhound in a state park. So if you find geodes or other rocks that you want to hold on to, you can do that. It's perfectly okay. And they've got some pretty cool trails there, so that's always fun. I've been there a couple of times actually. And then next further north would be City of Rocks. That's technically in Faywood. It's just north of Deming. And I've been there a few times as well, so we'll show you a couple of views there to give you an idea of what it looks like. What I'm enjoying about New Mexico State Parks is that everyone is different, even though they're all New Mexico State Parks. And let's see, north of Faywood would be Percha Dam and Caballo Lake. I went to Caballo Lake first and then Percha Dam, which is actually part of Caballo Lake. Both are very cool in their own way. Caballo Lake is another big, beautiful open lake. Had a great time there for a couple of weeks. Spent about a week at Percha Dam. A little more. It's like instead of looking out over the lake, you're down along the Rio Grande River with the dam opening right by the primitive campground. Pretty awesome. Elephant Butte Lake State Park, just north of Truth or Consequences. Huge, huge, huge state park. In fact, I've camped in the southern end of it. There's another whole area that's like 30 miles north. So that's pretty cool. Haven't been to the northern end yet. Might get there at some point. We'll see. Anyway, there's a beautiful variety of stuff to see here. You can even get up into forest and trees and all of those things. Everything is not desert. We're just staying down low, waiting down low in elevation, waiting for it to warm up enough to get into higher elevation. Coming soon. So how's it work? Non-resident, $225 a year. Primitive or semi-developed campsites are free. $10 sites are free for pass holders. If you want a site that has water and electric, then those are an additional $4 a night. Now, here's the bad news. I get the New Mexico State Park newsletter in my email every week, and a few weeks back, there was discussion about proposed changes in regulatory rates. And part of that proposal includes completely eliminating the annual pass, doubling fees for camping from $10 a night to $20 a night. And I can't remember what all else. I'm going to put a link in the description down below because what has happened is there was supposed to be another public meeting on April 1st, and they ended up postponing that indefinitely without a date of reschedule. That meeting was supposed to be um, prior to being able to adopt these new regulations, I think in July. And at this point, apparently the adoption of the regulations has been delayed as well. And I'm going to throw some suppositions out. I haven't actually researched this part to know if it's 100% true, but I do have a lot of experience working with government agencies. And typically when you want to make some major change, you have to have an open comment period. You have to have public meetings so that people can come and speak in person. And a certain number of those have to be accomplished depending on what the thing is that they're trying to change. So my guess is that since they've postponed the April 1st meeting indefinitely, they can't move forward with adopting the regulations in July until they meet the public comment period. I already sent an email, and I'm going to put a link down below to the New Mexico State Park website where you can get much more information about this. I've already sent an email to them, and this is apparently part of the reason that they've decided, not just my email, but lots of us have done this. Apparently part of the reason they have decided to delay from the April 1st meeting. I think they lost sight of what a benefit non-resident campers are to New Mexico when they started to draft the new regulations. So think about it this way. Not only do we come camp in the state parks, and yes, we're camping for free, but for those of us, especially full timers that are spending an entire season here, we're not just camping here. We're going to restaurants, we're shopping, we're hitting up the grocery stores, all of those things. We are feeding the local economy. We're getting fuel, we're getting propane, so we're putting a lot of money into the local economies, and that's really beneficial to the local economies. So it's not just the revenue to the state park, it's the revenue to the entire state, all of the small businesses, all of the stuff that we support. And in fact, as I recall, the annual passes are a significant portion. I can't remember all the numbers because I haven't looked at this for about a month and a half and I'm just speaking extemporaneously. But the annual passes are a significant portion of the state park's total revenue. One of the reasons they want to raise the rates is that they haven't had a rate increase, and I think one of the rangers told me 19 years, 18 or 19 years, and they don't really have enough funds to be able to keep up with fully maintaining all of the infrastructure and staffing the parks effectively, with enough rangers, enough law enforcement, all that kind of thing. So they really do need a rate increase. But my opinion, and many others, is that a rate increase that eliminates the annual pass is going to end up costing not only the state parks a lot of money for people like us that won't come use them anymore, but will also cost all of the local economies around those parks a fair amount of money as well. Not to mention, traveling in between the parks and all the other things we might be seeing and doing. So, if this is something that you're interested in and you think that it might be worth sending an email, I'd encourage you to check the links down below. Send an email. Let them know what you think about this proposed regulation. And if you completely disagree with me and think their ideas are great, let them know that too. It's kind of like voting against, but whatever. Everybody does their own thing. So this is the way that I like to camp. I like to camp in open places where I'm not, constrained by a concrete pad and a little picnic table, and that's what I've got, and, don't stray outside of my little space. I like bigger spaces, wider open, fewer people around, good cell signal. That's kind of important to me. And part of the way that I'm able to do that comfortably and easily is because I have a fair amount of solar and lithium batteries. A lot of people don't have that and they still manage to accomplish this perfectly well. So let me know in the comments down below. What style of camping do you prefer? Would you rather be in a campground or an RV park or an RV resort? And part of the thing for me too is there are multiple benefits. One of them is I get to see so many beautiful parts of the country that I otherwise would never get to see. And I get to do it in a really inexpensive and respectful way of our public lands, because I think that's really important. I usually end up picking up a fair amount of trash and taking it away with me when I'm out in public lands because I don't want to leave that behind. I don't want our public lands to get closed and closed down for people to be able to camp on. I do encourage everybody to follow the rules. If it's a 14-day limit, even if nobody's coming around or you don't think anybody's coming around, make sure you leave after your 14 days. Here's an interesting thing. I read an article today about people who were getting their home insurance policies canceled because insurance companies are flying drones and looking overhead or looking from overhead at roofs, for example. And if they find a roof that's in bad condition, they'll drop their um, insured. They're looking for things that are not permitted, like trampolines or swimming pools that haven't been identified, but yet they're in the yards. And drones are cheap and they're easy to fly. And with AI, it's easy to be able to identify stuff without having to have a whole lot of human intervention to do it. So, for example, a drone can fly over a piece of BLM land every day, and it's pretty easy to pick up which vehicle is not moved, right? And figure out who's overstayed their welcome. So don't overstay your welcome. Always do the right thing. Be a good human. Why not? Doesn't hurt anything, doesn't cost anything, helps people out. Be a good human. So if you got something out of this video, and I really hope that you did, please let me know in the comments down below. Give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And I guess that's all I got for now. What do you say, Kit? Can you say goodbye? We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching.